Oh, it's so great to be in Chicago. It's my second favorite big city, next to Austin, where I live, but I like it better than New York, so usually people like to hear that. Of course, whenever I come to Chicago, people forever apologize about the weather. If you go to LA, they brag about the weather. Chicago, they apologize. It's like, if you only had been here just a few days earlier, it's going to get sunny again sometime in May, so please come back then. But let me talk a little bit about our book, and my co-author Raj Sisodia is here, and basically anything you liked about the book, Raj probably wrote, and the stuff you don't like, I probably wrote. That's kind of how it works out. Well, why did we write this book? Well, lots of reasons. One reason is because we think business is the greatest value creator in the world. Business is what's lifted humanity up out of the dirt. And most people don't know it. I mean, 200 years ago, 85% of the people alive on the planet Earth lived on less than $1 a day. That's in today's dollars. 85%. Over 90% of the people were illiterate. The average lifespan was 30. Today, only 16% of the people on the planet live on less than $1 a day. The illiteracy rates are down to under 15%, and the average lifespan has increased now up to 68 across the planet, 78 in the United States, about 80 in Japan. And this has been due to capitalism. This has been due to business. And business doesn't get the credit for it. Instead, business is seen as basically a bunch of sociopaths running around that we better have big government stop them before they wreck everything. I mean, think about it. The critics have captured the narrative about what business is all about. And that narrative is that business people are selfish, and they're greedy, and they exploit both people and the environment. They're fundamentally not to be trusted. So something doesn't sync up here, because business is responsible and capitalism is responsible for lifting humanity up. It's ending poverty across the planet. It's increased through technology and through the inventions. It's made all of our lives so much better, and yet it's seen in such a negative light. I am personally very concerned about economic freedom. I'm very concerned about business's reputation in the world, and I hope our book partly changes that. But that's just one of the reasons we wrote it. And even more important is that if we want to change the narrative about business, if we want people to think and understand the great value creation that business produces, we've got to recapture the narrative from the critics. And it starts by telling a better story about why we exist. Now, the biggest holdback, in my opinion, is that business is in this narrow category of only caring about money. And so the purpose of business is portrayed as only about money, only about profits, only about maximizing shareholder value. If you go to a cocktail party and you ask somebody randomly, what's the purpose of business? You'll get an odd look, because what they'll tell you is, what do you mean, what's the purpose of business? Everybody knows the purpose of business. The purpose of business is to make money. But it's such an odd answer. Why? If you ask what the purpose of a doctor is, and doctors are very well compensated, at least at this time they are, they're very well compensated, but their purpose isn't to make money. Their purpose is to heal people. And teachers educate, architects design buildings, engineers construct things. Journalists, theoretically, should be there to uncover the truth. And even attorneys, I would argue, should be, in their higher purpose, should be trying to help our society to have a just and fair legal system. So all of the professions refer back to some value that they're creating for other people in our society. Only business is put in this very narrow category that it's all about money. And as long as we're trapped in that category, business is going to be on the defensive. It's always going to be it's going to appear like it's whining. It's just not fair. You tax us too much, blah, 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 blah. We've got to go back and re-examine why we exist. What is our purpose? Why does the business exist? What is our higher purpose besides just making money?
You had the advantage of building a business, and so you could evolve into this conscious business model and philosophy. But what about everybody who already has the business? They have their mission, and they have a culture that's entrenched. You know, changing the culture of a place, that can be like moving a cemetery.
Well, that's kind of why I've given up on my generation. But
don't abandon them. Any
I haven't
advice,
abandoned
John?
them. No, but you've just identified the main problem, Marianne. It's very difficult it's not impossible, but it's difficult. Because once a company has a culture, it has a mentality, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it almost requires a crisis to try to move anything. It is possible. Raj and I write about how companies can evolve themselves. And it starts with going into discovering or rediscovering what their higher purpose is besides making money. It means starting to think about the business differently in terms of stakeholders. And oftentimes it needs the leadership to personally evolve. Now, if the CEO doesn't want to change it, it's impossible to do so. But if the CEO will provide leadership to evolve, then it's possible. So I don't want to say it's impossible. I will say that it's easier to start a conscious business than it is to transform an existing one. I think if our book is really successful, it's going to create a lot of money for consultants who will promise that they can help you transform your business into a more conscious business for a fee, of course.
People that buy organic produce, you know, you want it, you pay extra for it, but one of our audience members wants to know if you are giving thought to how to make whole foods more affordable.
All the time. In fact, we are becoming more affordable. Basically, our prices, as we've gotten larger and our economies of scale increase, relatively speaking, we get less expensive every single year. And other than the stereotypes, if people will actually go out, like some of the research analysts have done that cover the company, and actually do comprehensive price comparisons, they find surprising, they're all usually surprised how well Whole Foods Market does shape up. I mean, and in terms of competing with, say, Safeway, Trader Joe's, conventional supermarkets. We actually do pretty well there. But of course we're high quality, our strategy is to sell the highest quality foods possible, and just like every other, whether it be apparel or jewelry or automobiles or housing, there's a whole continuum of quality to price ratios, and we're trying to sell the highest quality. So, of course, it's going to be a little more expensive if you're selling.
You were speaking about sugar and obesity issues earlier. It's pointed out by an audience member that you continue to sell unhealthy foods in your stores, and
because
you have
people continue to buy them.
Killer bakery.
I mean, the bottom line is that if I only sold the foods I personally eat, I'm a vegan. I try not to eat sugar. I try not to eat white flour. If we only sold the foods that were actually the most healthiest foods, we would quickly go out of, actually we would not go out of business. I would simply be removed as the CEO. Because ultimately you have to create value for your customers. And so we have an internal dialogue. We're trying to educate our customers to make healthier choices. And I believe in that concept of nudging. We're nudging. But ultimately the customers vote. And if you don't sell them the foods they want to buy, they're just going to go down the street and shop at your competitors. So it's easy to be a saint on a mountaintop. In business, we have to deal with the real world as we find it. And we can educate it and we can nudge it. But if we stop trying to meet the values and needs of our customers, then we're not going to be in business very long. So I always challenge people that ask me that question. If you think you can do a better job, go out and start your own store and sell exactly the foods that you think people ought to buy and see how it works out for you.